We're joined now by Kate McCarthy, who runs McCarthy Recruitment in Manchester, London and Bristol. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning.
So are more people from the retail sector now looking for work?
I think so. You know, we haven't seen a decline in applications and people looking for work. I think there's an opportunity to transfer skills into different sectors, and that's what we've done as a business. So we're no longer just retail specialists. We work in a number of sectors. And I look at where we've placed retailers and their manufacturing, even into the environment and waste sectors. So there's a huge opportunity out there for people.
So when you get somebody who's worked in retail coming in, what do you help them? What do you advise them? What do you say to them?
For me, it's about understanding exactly what they want out of their life as opposed to a job. So where do you see yourself? What's important to you for your family? What is it that you want? And I think it's then reflecting on that and understanding, does that mean staying in retail? Does that mean looking at the skills and transferable skills you've got on and opening up to other things? I think people need to look at who they are and what they want and go from there, as opposed to think of sector specifically. It's about skills and people as opposed to retail or a specific sector.
Because it can be daunting. Paul in Bournemouth's been in touch. He says, I'm not sure it's fair to say retail workers should retrain as teachers or IT workers. They require a different learning aptitude and even retraining to be a nurse. It isn't a likely jump-on option for all retail workers. That's a fair point.
Kind of, but I mean, I remember about 10 years ago placing a nurse into retail and it worked really well. So I think, again, it's about a person, about their behaviours, about their potential. And I actually, from going and working in recruiting into new sectors, and we specialise in retail for about 10 years. So moving into new sectors for us was a little bit different. What I've actually realised is retail workers, people from retail are highly skilled and actually much more competent in many areas than other sectors. And I think retailers need to be proud of what they've achieved and who they are in the work that they do, and go out there and celebrate that. So my view is that you can be anything you want to be if you put your mind to it and you focus, and actually retail is a fantastic foundation for that.
In terms of the numbers of people coming to you who have lost their jobs in retail, what's the split between retraining, going back into retail, or moving into something completely different? Do you give us a sense of that?
I can give you a sense. I haven't got a specific figure. For me, people want to stay in retail. They tend to come to us worried. So for me, it's all about security and their personal situation. So often people will say, well, what if I don't have a job in retail moving forward? If I stay in retail, is it going to exist? And ultimately, retail...
A lot of people say that to you, do they?
Yeah, they do. I think there's just for the last few years, and I remember 2012 was the last time that it felt like this, you do get a sense of redundancy is really scary for people. And actually, my teams are trained to talk to them about how that feels. And often it's a mind game and it doesn't feel great. But actually, they're still fantastic. Just because you've been made redundant doesn't mean anything other than you've been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Normally, you've not been able to affect that at all. And it's about giving them the confidence to go back into the job market. So yes, I think they come in that respect and say, should I stay in retail? My advice is there's other jobs in retail as well. We're talking about the high street. We're not talking about back office, e-commerce, marketing, head office, etc. Retail still exists and is thriving in many areas. I've got many clients that are opening stores and doing really well. So I think there's a broader perspective to think about this.
What about flexibility? Because, of course, for many people, particularly working mums, they go into retail because they need the flexibility. If they're looking for that in another job, can you redirect them other opportunities?
Yes, and I think businesses in every sector have to wake up to the fact that flexibility is absolutely key. And, and I believe in that too. My business is fully flexible, whether it's a mum or a dad, because everybody's got different needs. So definitely. And I still think retail head offices have a way to go. I was talking to a business only last week about that, to say that to create pure diversity, you need to be flexible about working practices. So it's probably been offered more on the shop floor than it has in head office and back offices, but that is changing too, and it has to.
What percentage of the people come to you do actually retrain, or is that still quite small at the moment?
I think it's still really small. Yes, we've placed people into manufacturing, into waste, into hospitality, although I see hospitality and retail very similar. Maybe 5%, 10% maximum. Retail still has businesses that are opening stores and doing well. You know, I get frustrated really and say, you know, we'll need to talk about omnichannel, and retail sales are fluctuating. But, you know, every sector, every business sector at the minute is struggling to an extent because we are living in a sense of uncertainty, and that affects the consumer. So I still celebrate retail and get frustrated when it's all doom and gloom. There's some fantastic, great stories out there of stores opening and businesses thriving. And just talking about not being able to get to the high street because of traffic. Well, there's a clue in there. That's because everyone's going shopping.
Kate McCarthy from McCarthy Recruitment in Manchester, thank you very much indeed.